The Dillon XL750 is the latest press from Dillon Precision. Gavin here from UltimateReloader.com. I just published the most in-depth progressive reloading press video I've ever put together and companion article. We're talking about unboxing the press, unboxing the case feeder, putting everything together, setting it up, loading 223, caliber changeover, 45 ACP, pros and cons, just about everything you'd want to know about the press. And what was the biggest question that I got? It was, hey Gavin, I've got an XL650. Should I upgrade to the 750? Or hey, I got a good lead on a 650. Is it worth it to go up to the 750? So what I did was I had an in-depth discussion with Dillon Precision behind the scenes, and I learned a little bit about the history of these presses and also all of the differences that went into the 750 compared to the 650. So I wanted to invite you behind the scenes here. We're going to take a look at both of these presses and discuss those differences in detail. So here's the Dillon XL650. I've had this press since about 2008. It was actually initially launched in November of 1992 and quickly gained a reputation as being a rock-solid, high-volume reloader in that 5-station progressive reloading press category. And the biggest change between the XL650 and the XL750 really is the priming system. The XL650 has inside this cassette sort of a telephone dial, that's what I call it. And every time you index the press, there's a little ratchet arm that spins the telephone dial and a new primer goes into place. Now, the pros of this system is it's one of the better systems for being self-cleaning. As the telephone dial rotates, it can actually pick up powder and debris and kick it right out the other side. There's two challenges with this system. First is if you change between large primers and small primers, unless you buy a separate priming assembly, you have to disassemble the whole telephone dial mechanism and swap out the telephone dial plus the drop tube. Two solutions. People either buy a separate priming system or they'll just buy a second press and leave it set up. And actually, it's still not a bad idea. I like to have presses set up in each category if I can, with large primers and with small primers, even though sometimes it takes only a couple minutes to change. I get lazy. So that's the XL650 priming system. This is the internals of the XL750 priming system. Dillon calls it a linear priming system. And the way that it works, I'll actually show you right here on the press, is the slider comes back, it picks up a primer, it moves forward, and then this spring-loaded cup goes under the shell plate, and you can feel the shell plate, subplate push down against it, and it provides very positive priming action. It's really nice for a couple reasons. First, there's a couple thumb screws down here. You pop those off, you can lift the entire cassette off the top, and then it's just a very quick matter to swap between large and small. You still have to change the primer tube inside the shield here, but it really doesn't take that long. If you look at the video I put together, it's really only about a 5-minute job total. Another thing is this increases the safety of the priming system. If there was a primer detonation on the telephone dial, you could conceivably have a chain reaction and then it could go up the tube. Very rare type of event, but with this kind of a priming system, you have a large separation between where the priming has happened, that's where the primer could get crushed and go off, and the stack of primers over here. This priming system, after I did some initial tweaks to the press, just a couple little things, really it was just bending this tiny little wire, just a little bit more for 223, has been 100% functioning, and I absolutely love the feel of the priming action. I did both 45 ACP and 223 so far with this press, and it's worked really good. So those are the priming system differences. As a part of the priming system redesign, the primer tube was actually relocated slightly. You can see it's in a different proximity with relation to the press frame. And the powder measure was actually rotated as well. I just checked, and the fail-safe rods, which are part of the safety mechanism, are actually the same part, but you'll see the angle at which this powder measure sits is different, and because of the oscillation of the bar, instead of the back of the bar sticking out over station number 1, it's now sticking out over station number 4. This has caused some compatibility issues with certain bullet feeders, that kind of thing, and those are being worked out, and I'll have more updates as more information is available. Between the XL650 and the 750, Dillon actually added about 15% more material to the frame to increase the rigidity and strength. And the easiest place to look for that is, you can see some of the casting artifacts here. Come on over to the 750, you can see an entirely different pattern here. Another thing to point out while we're looking at this side of the press is there's now Zerk fittings here on the pivots. Let's go back to the 650. These have solid ends here. Now, I'm not totally sure that that's a 750 upgrade or if some of the late 650s also had that. If you know the answer to that, please let me know, because I didn't discuss that with Dillon. I just noticed that. Let's take a quick look at the indexing system. So you've got the cam here and the cam follower here. That does the indexing on the XL650. You notice they're just 2 blocks. Come on over to the 750. Here we can see Dillon has added a roller. So that same cam slides against the roller instead of another solid block, and that means smoother action. The other changes that we're going to need to see, I'm going to pop off these shell plates so we can look underneath and see the rest of the indexing improvements. So here we can see some of the relocation changes and the differences in the priming system. The pawl is here kind of facing the operator here, and the ball is forward. We've got that telephone dial I was talking about back towards the back. Now let's go, that's the 650, let's go over to the 750. You can see how nice and sparkling new this one looks. The indexing pawl is towards the back, the ball is closer to the front here, and we can see the simplified area there where the priming happens. So there you go, all of the key differences between the Dillon XL650 and the Dillon XL750. I hope this was valuable for me to walk through all of those differences and to show them with the actual machines, to see these machines side by side. If it was, please give this video a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe with notifications, because I've got a lot more high volume loading, a lot more Blue Press content coming up. Trust me, you're going to want to see it. Don't forget, I've got Ultimate Reloader shirts at the Ultimate Reloader store. I'm on Patreon. We've got a full article. Links in the video description. Until next time, happy shooting and happy reloading.